o'clock right on the dot. So we're going to go and get started on our introduction to the Food and Nutrition Project. I know this seems super last minute. If you read your newsletter, you knew this was happening today at lunchtime, or if you checked Facebook, you saw it. But this recording will be available. It will stay on this Facebook page. We'll also be able to, I have it recording twice, so it will be a YouTube link as well, something that you can go back and look at. So we're going to get started. This is a 3-part series. So today we're going to introduce the Food and Nutrition Project, and then we're also going to talk about the food show, which is one of the contests that go along with our Food and Nutrition Project. So, if you haven't met me, my name is Chrissy Carr. I'm the County Extension Agent for 4-H and Youth Development here in Wise County. There's myself that can help answer any questions. Tanya Davis, who is the Family and Community Health Agent, Extension Agent, she can also help answer any questions regarding the Food and Nutrition Project. So when you get this email later with the links to the recorded videos, you're going to have some resources attached to it. One of them is going to be an overview of the Food and Nutrition Project. So some main things when we talk about 4-H and our projects. Our whole goal is to teach life skills. I don't know about you guys, but I spend at least a little bit of time every day in my kitchen. Whether that's preparing a healthy meal for my family or, providing a snack. Sometimes it's even just taking the takeout food from the packages and plating it and putting it on the table. We're real life around here, so, but food nutrition is a part of our everyday life. We have to eat and we have to drink. We also have to learn how to do that to where it is healthy for our bodies. Some more skills learned. We have responsibility, public speaking. In all of our food nutrition contests, there is a speaking element for each one of our participants. There's some leadership, community service, communication, and teamwork. All right, so let's get started. With the Food and Nutrition Project, a lot of people in 4-H think that is just entering something in at the Wise County Youth Fair, which is in the spring. And I tell everybody that our Food and Nutrition Project has 2 parts to it. In the fall, we do our food show, we do our food challenge, we do our food quiz bowl, and that focuses on healthy recipes, healthy foods and nutrients for our bodies. The Wise County Youth Fair is those really sugary baked goods that your grandma used to help you bake, or you've learned to love, you learn to make cakes and pies and cookies. We're not so much focusing on those foods as far as we are the healthy foods. So change your mindset just a little bit. There are some really cool surprises that I would love to share with you about Food Show. All right, so remember, you guys are going to get this document. It talks about the things that we'll learn in the Food Nutrition Project. It highlights a couple of the contests. It also talks about skills. There's a basic set of skills, which includes learning how to read a recipe or making a healthy snack, to an intermediate level of skills, which is understanding food labels, also the science behind ingredients, and then advanced. So those are our kids that have been in their project several years. If you want to know how to teach your kids and keep them learning, the advanced would be talking about planning and purchasing a daily menu, and become efficient at advanced culinary skills. So set this off to the side. And let's talk a little bit about the food show. The food show in itself is an individual contest, which means a 4-H'er will participate by themselves in it. At home, they will prepare a dish. They will bring a single serving to the contest, and they'll give a presentation and an interview on that dish. That's the food show in a nutshell. That's how it's different from our other contests. So let's dive a little bit deeper into it. For Wise County 4-H, our county food show is open to all 4-H members, 3rd grade through 12th grade, but it is also open to our Clover Kids, and they get really excited about this. So Clover Kid parents, jump in, help your kiddos participate, but as I go through all these really big details, just know for Clover Kids, I want them to come in and tell me about their dish, how they prepared it, just anything I can get them up and talking about the Food and Nutrition Project and the dish that they compared. It's more of an introduction to 4-H for them. So our food show has some objectives. We want to develop healthy food preparation, safety, and nutrition skills. We want to connect my plate in the dietary guidelines to the foods that we eat, which is really important. And we want to learn about the nutrients and the health they provide to our body. So, more than just, hey, I ate a potato or I ate a carrot, what does the potato do for me, or what does the carrot do for my body? It helps us make healthier food choices. Okay, so the food show has a theme. The theme this year is called Grocery Games. And it is, the whole idea of it is to let your local food sources guide your healthy recipe selection, but you only have $10 to spend. So let me say it again. Let your local food sources guide your healthy recipe selection with only $10 to spend. Now, when we think about local food sources here in Rice County, of course we have our big grocery stores. We have Walmart, we have Brookshire's. We also have our Lowe's grocery stores, which are in several of our cities. We also have Dollar Tree. We have Dollar General. We have our convenience stores, QT's, Allsup's, Love's. I mean, there's almost a convenience store in every town. So when we think about this theme and we think about it statewide, our urban counties, they're going to have grocery stores coming out their ears. Our extremely rural counties may only have a Dollar General and an Allsup's, and they have to use the resources that they have to create these dishes. So keep that in mind. No going out of Wise County for your ingredients, okay? Also, we can't forget our local producers. You may have a garden in your backyard, but we have several farmer markets. We have several producers that sell produce and different items out of their farms. So those are also an option as well. Maybe you even consider bartering. At home, I have chickens that lay eggs. Maybe I trade a dozen eggs for some produce from a neighbor. That's also something to keep in mind. The main thing is we're focusing on healthy eating and preventing chronic diseases. So real quick, because this is important, it's going to be a part of the presentation/interview for our older kids. Chronic diseases. This is also a graphic you'll get. The main chronic diseases are heart disease, cancer, chronic lung disease, stroke, Alzheimer's, diabetes, and kidney disease. So not all illnesses are chronic diseases, but we are wanting to prevent those chronic diseases with our healthy eating. Okay? Categories. You create your dish. It has to fall into a category for our food show. Our categories have changed. And this, to me, is one of the most exciting things. Our 4 categories include appetizers, main dish, side dish, and healthy desserts. Now, those are all things I would actually eat. When I'm preparing a menu for my family at home, I would consider an appetizer, a main dish, a side dish, and a healthy dessert. Whereas in the past, we had fruits and vegetables, we had our proteins, we had just different things that maybe didn't make as much sense when we were planning, meal planning. And we'll talk a little bit more about those different dishes, okay? So step number 1, your kiddo wants to participate in the food show. That's awesome. Now we gotta find a recipe. Maybe you choose your recipe by looking over the grocery ads to see what's on sale, because remember your budget is only $10. Now things that don't count for your budget are spices you already have at home. You surely have a spice cabinet. Hopefully you can see that. You don't have to consider those in your budget if you have a garden out back, or if you have chickens that lay eggs, or maybe you're a local, you have livestock that you process and you have in your freezer, venison, anything like that. You don't necessarily have to consider in your grocery budget. It's anything you're going to the store to purchase. Now, you can't necessarily pull like a can of corn out of your cabinet. You would need to have a cost associated with that. For best practice, I would have a cost associated with everything except for your spices and your oils and things like that. Okay? So, appetizer. Let's talk about an appetizer. This is something you eat prior to the main dish. We've all been to restaurants, we've seen the appetizer list. These need to be lower in fat, sodium, and calories, so it doesn't fill you up and ruin your appetite for all the things to come. This is not necessarily chips and cheese dip unless you can make those a healthier option, because healthy is also really important when we're talking about our recipes. Main dish, that's our heavy, hearty, substantial dish. That's the feature of the meal. This would typically be a meat or a protein, and it also can contain other foods, like you could do a casserole, you could do a pasta dish, you can do a soup or a stew. Make sense? Side dish. These are served with a main dish. They usually complement a main dish. Examples could be a salad, cooked veggies or cooked fruit, pasta or rice, and a combo of veggies. So these are things that we would typically have. It wouldn't be a full meal. We would serve it with a main dish. And then a healthy dessert. These are for special occasions. Now we think about healthy desserts, we also can consider modifying our traditional desserts with healthy substitutes. So that could be taking out the whole wheat flour or taking out the regular flour and adding whole wheat. It could be replacing the oil with applesauce, or 100 different ways to modify an existing recipe to make it healthier. Okay? So those are our 4 categories. Your recipe needs to fall into those, all right? Typically, a recipe for a Clover Kid and a junior might be an easier recipe, where a recipe for a senior is going to have more steps, take a little bit more time. Now, for those seniors, a preparation of a recipe does not need to go over 75 minutes. If they compete at county and they win, and they compete at district and they win, and they go to state, they'll have to create their dish there on site at our state contest in College Station. So you'll have to think about the things that will be available in June. You'll also have to make sure that your dish will not take more than 75 minutes to prepare. Okay, cool. Our food show, if you look in the packet, the date for our food show is October 22nd, which is a Thursday. We're going to have interviews all afternoon until 6 o'clock. It's going to be a come and go type event. Because it is happening on Thursday afternoon, we're fully going to judge the dish as if it was just prepared. Does that make sense? So you could prepare it. Your 4-H'er could prepare it the night before. Go to school, come here. We will allow the use of our microwave to reheat a dish that needs to be heated. At district, you will not have that option. And typically we don't have that option, but because it is a weeknight, we are going to allow the use of the microwave. So you can prepare it on Wednesday night. Maybe it's a dish that will sit several days. However is easiest for your 4-H'er and your family, I highly recommend doing that. Okay, now we're going to talk about presentation of our dish. A 4-H'er is going to bring in a single serving of their dish. So if they create a whole stew or a whole soup, they're just going to bring in a single serving. And there will be several guidelines on what is actually a serving for the individual. Because, one slice of meatloaf is different than a cup of soup, and it's different than a cup of corn, or whatever it is their dish is that they've chosen is. Okay, so for the presentation, this is once our 4-H'er has gotten here, we have helped them plate their dish. It's in a bowl or a plate. It looks nice. They'll also have things to serve it with, because at the end of their presentation, they will actually serve their dish to judges. We want to just make sure that they know food safety as far as handling and serving food items. They will start, this is juniors, intermediates, and seniors. They will start with a maximum 5-minute presentation. This presentation, they'll introduce themselves and their dish. Some key things that they might talk about: inspiration. How did they choose this dish? Is this something that your family eats often? Is this their favorite dish? How it relates to the theme, which is grocery games. Knowledge of my plate, which is the different servings, the meat, the protein, the dairy, the fruits and vegetables, and the bread. The nutrition knowledge of the ingredients in the dish, how they prepared it, and also the food safety steps that they took to make sure their dish would be safe to consume. We will not consume this dish when it comes in for judging at all. On a county, district, or state level, the food is not eaten. It's just judged as is without the eating. And then there's a 4-minute interview. There will be a panel of judges, usually 2 to 3 judges, and they will ask the 4-H'er questions, and we'll give some example questions so your child can be prepared. But they might ask things such as basic nutrition, food safety or food prep questions, maybe a question about chronic disease prevention, the age-related nutrition. So if your 4-H'er is 8 years old, maybe how many fruits and vegetables do they need? That's all on the My Plate. Other areas of health, and also project experiences. What was the most challenging thing for your 4-H'er as they prepared their dish? Maybe have they participated in other 4-H activities where they learned food and nutrition knowledge? What has been their community service? All those types of questions. And then they will, again, take that dish and serve it to the judges. For our contest here, it's going to be by appointment. So once your child has come in, they have presented to the judges, they are free to go. We'll do awards later that evening so everybody can jump on and watch the awards or see the awards later. That way we're not all congregating in one place. All right, so there's 2 additions to our food show. To make it a little bit more exciting, the first one is a senior-only activity. So this is only for seniors. That's our 9th grade through 12th grade. They have a knowledge quiz, a knowledge showcase, and it will have 10 questions. These will be multiple choice or true false, and they'll use the resources provided. So in the food show packet, there's a list of resources, and these 10 questions can come from any one of those things. All right. For our intermediates and our seniors, you will have to do a skill showcase. All right. So the skill showcase. Just have to touch it.
Batteries low.
Okay, push okay. Sorry. Technical difficulties. All right. So our skills showcase, and I'm going to go through these skills for you so you can see what they're like. Also, I'm not an expert, so I will also probably attach a couple more videos in case I flub up somewhere. This is live on one of my screens. The skill showcase. So in the packet, it will look like this. There's a chart. There are 11 different skills that 4-H'ers can choose from. This is our intermediate through our senior, so 6th grade and up. They're going to choose one skill. They're going to bring everything they need to demonstrate that skill. Very clear. They're going to choose their skill and bring everything that they need. So our skills are as follows. Okay? So first set of skills are all about measuring. Okay? So as far as measuring, the first skill says measure 1/4 cup of flour. You're going to demonstrate how to properly measure this. I'm also going to get a bold bit. So I have my flour here. I wanted you to be able to see what I was doing. I have my 1/4 cup measure. These are our dry ingredients measuring. This is for wet ingredients. Already the first difference, okay? Unless you have something really small as far as wet ingredients. So these are our dry ingredient measures. For flour, because it's different, we're going to take our 1/4 cup measure. I'm going to get a big scoop of flour, okay? And this is no longer 1/4 because the flour comes up above the rim. I'm going to take my flat edge, my knife, and I'm going to just scrape the top off. I like to do it twice because sometimes it falls over. And this is how you properly measure 1/4 cup of flour. There you go. Fun fact, if you have several different sets of measuring spoons at home, every measuring spoon will measure 1/4 flour differently. So if your recipes don't turn out right, that could be the trick. The next demonstration is 1 cup of water. Okay, so this is a little bit different. It's more clear. So when you find your measuring cup, you find 1 cup. Now, I will recommend if this is the skill that you're demonstrating, you will need to have more than 1 cup of liquid in another container to then pour it in here. It would not be quite right if you just had 1 cup of liquid pre-measured. Okay, so you're gonna find your 1 cup line. Depending on your container, your water has like a meniscus. It will actually dip down. The 1 cup needs to be at the bottom part of that. So you want to make sure you're measuring it flat on a surface, not holding it up and saying, oh, I think it's a cup. Okay? So 1 cup of water. We have 1 tablespoon of oil. You would actually use this type of measuring. And I'm going to actually just put it in this container right here. So 1 tablespoon of oil. It's a little bit tricky. I would recommend getting one of the smaller containers of oil so the 4-H'er can handle it better, or moving it into a different type container. Now, there is your 1 tablespoon of oil. The last one, as far as measuring, is a teaspoon of baking powder. Okay? On the oil, it does not matter what kind of oil you use. It's not specified, and it says that in the instructions. So 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And I actually don't have any baking powder, so I'm going to use baking soda. And that's just a-okay. So, in this, sometimes it gets clumpy. You don't want any clumps. Again, you want that flat edge. This is where the clumps can be the problem. So 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Okay, so those are your skill examples for the measurements, all right? Now, our next, let's skip down to our kitchen gadget. Okay, kitchen gadget demonstration. It has a vegetable peeler. I'm going to have 3 here. Any one of those will do. It has a zester. So a zester, a microplane, all of those things will work. A juicer. Get the juice out of the fruit. An apple slicer. And then the last one is edible and decorative garnishes. So you would use different items to create a garnish that is relevant to your dish. So the example is garnished spaghetti with a basil leaf. All right. So let's go through each one of these. A vegetable peeler. It says demonstrate how to peel a small cucumber or a potato. I actually need the potato here in a minute, so we're just going to demonstrate on a potato. Now, if you have different vegetable peelers at home, you might know that you have a vegetable peeler that you've learned and you know how to use it. You know all the silly things that it does and how to make it work. That doesn't mean that the 4-H'er also knows how to do that. So I would recommend practicing this one. Because I have vegetable peelers at home and I just go through and peel it very quickly and I hand it to my child and they can't always make it work. So again, you need to practice this. So this one, just safely peeling. You're not peeling, to your hands. These are blades on here, so that's a part of the demonstration. We want to make sure that the child is staying safe. Like this one, I have to do something weird to it to make it work for me. So it's not something I would use in this demonstration. The same with this one. So if I was at home and I was a 4-H'er, I would say, I'm going to use this vegetable peeler and I'm going to work on being safe with it. I'm going to make sure my fingers are far away. I'm going to make sure I'm not putting myself in a dangerous situation, which is something the judges will be looking at. Okay? So there is our vegetable peeler. A zester, also be a microplane like this. We would use a zester on maybe, this is lemon. They specifically asked for a lemon, but you might use it for not garlic, ginger. See, ginger, or even maybe like a nutmeg if you have spices. So on this has tiny blades. It looks like a tiny cheese grater. You just take your lemon, rub it back and forth on there. Make sure you don't get too deep in there, but then you can see the zest. You can smell it. It smells so good. Okay, that's lemon zest. Might also be a garnish. Hint, hint. Okay. So there's your zester. The next one will be the juicer. Go ahead and just use this lemon for our juicer. Cut it in half. I rolled it so the juice would come out better. Also going to, if the 4-H'er does a juicer, I would recommend that you use something that's already one piece. This is truly by luck that this fits. And if it didn't, it would just be wobbly and everywhere, and it wouldn't be very food safe. So I'm gonna put my lemon on here. Put this other piece. Again, I'm working with parts that don't always are original to each other like we would in our own kitchens. I'll push down on this to make sure I get all the juices out. And if it's easier, they can just use their hands right on the lemon rind. Okay, so here's this example. The last one to use on the kitchen gadget is the apple slicer. Now, this apple slicer, it's, let me switch my cutting board. Now, I have one of these that's a little bit different at home, and the blades maybe aren't as sharp anymore, so I really have to ram it down on there. That's not very food safe. The apple could go shooting. I could be injured, so we want to make sure if this is something that your child is demonstrating, first you want to make sure you find an apple that sits, it's not all wobbly, and you want to make sure they can actually do this without having to use their Hulk strength to make it happen. So this apple, this slicer is pretty good. Push down. Okay, so demonstrating an apple slicer. Boom, done. Actually, keep these turning. I'm going to use some lemon juice on them. Okay. All right, the next two. These are knife safety. And if your child has ever been to one of our Kids in the Kitchen camp, each time we focus somewhere on knives. So, the cutting board will be needed for knife safety, right? The first example is to slice bread. Now, this loaf is one of the $1 French bread loaves at Walmart. Very economical. We have a special knife for slicing bread. Okay, so either one of these we could use, right? Same thing, one's smaller, one's bigger, okay? So you want to teach them how to use the knife to cut bread. Well, we're using a knife, hand safety. We want to make sure our hands are far away, teach them the bear claw. So, put your hand down. Now, bread is very tricky, right? Because if we just push down on this, we're going to get flat pieces of bread. Okay? If your cutting board is very wiggly, we'll need to put something underneath it. We want the bread to keep its shape, all right? So, even though I could put my hand back here and stabilize this bread, we want to show some some knife safety, right? Just teach them how to do bread. And to practice this, one night you can make garlic bread. And they could slice up the loaf for you. So there's our bread demonstration. And last but not least, to me, this is one of the most challenging skills. I was a senior and I had done this for several years. This is where I would definitely go because this is going to be our most impressive, maybe, right word? So the last one says dice, chop, or julienne a vegetable. We have to know the difference between dicing, chopping, and julienning. So it says vegetables not specified. You can use any vegetable you want. I grabbed a potato. I also have some carrots over there. And I hope this potato works out for me. Again, this is live, so anything can happen. I'm food safe. I've got my knuckles bent. I'm going to create a flat surface on my vegetable. So a flat surface, and we're going to, first step is to put your vegetable, make it a rectangle. So this is a pretty close rectangle. It's not perfect, but it's close, right? So you can see square, rectangle. To do a julienne, you're going to make a plank, which would be like this, okay? Start with the plank, put it over. And then you're going to make little equal size strips, so like a french fry. So this is your julienne, long rectangles, right? Food safety. To dice those, you would take your juliennes and cut them to where they're perfect cubes. That's a dice. That's how a dice is different than a chop. Every piece that you're cutting needs to be the same shape, same size, so it cooks through equally. It's the whole purpose of it. So making sure the food cooks equally. I'm not even sure you can even see what I'm looking at. Okay? Now, a chop is different. A chop, and I'll just do it with the potato, is you're going to make them all the same size, but it's not as necessary that they're uniform. Makes sense? So a chop, again, focusing on those knife safety skills. You could also chop some herbs or a carrot. So if I was chopping up a carrot, I could julienne them and dice them, but it's not, I'm not going to get as much carrot out of it. It's a little bit trickier. So just chopping through that carrot, I want all those pieces to be the same amount, same size, okay? In the food industry, it's important that your food all look the same. Each piece of it, whether you're having, carrot medallions or hash browns, every little piece needs to look the same. So those are all of your safety skills, right? All of them. You get to choose one, just one. Bring all the things that you need for it and demonstrate it, all right? We'll give you a space to demonstrate it. We'll clean in between, but that's what you need. That is only for intermediates and for seniors. Now, talking about the nutrients, we hit on that a couple times, and I gave you really no examples. This is important for youth to know. So once they choose their recipe, you're going to go through that recipe with them, and you're going to use this. This is called Know Your Nutrients. If I use the apple in my dish, let me move this knife out of my way. I'm going to go through this. It talks about minerals, electrolytes, vitamins, micronutrients, and water-soluble vitamins, okay? So I'm going to go through here, And these charts are set up really nice. It has the nutrient, the function, what does it do, the sources, where can we find it, and the deficiency. If I don't have this, what's going to happen? So I'm just going to scan through here until I find something that I've used. So number 1 is carbohydrates. That was in our potato. Okay? Carbohydrates, which is found in our potato, supply glucose to spare proteins. It's a good source of energy. That's the main thing. It's a good source of energy for my body. Carrots provide fiber that may help lower your cholesterol. It improves your bowel motility, gives you extra fullness without extra calories. Okay? And you just go through there. You have eggs, for example. If eggs was a part of your recipe, eggs tells you it produces energy from carbohydrates in all cells, helps in growth and development, and red blood cell formation. This packet is super valuable. You can go through every single thing and find it. There's also a key nutrient, so I went through here and just talked some more. Give some more examples, like apples and lemons and oranges contain vitamin C that helps your body utilize iron. It helps bind your body cell together. It strengthens the walls of your blood vessels. So if you have some health things going on, let's say you were injured, you need help healing your body. Well, a natural way to do that is to consume more vitamin C. Vitamin C aids in healing wounds and broken bones. Boom. That's a great way to make a connection with your 4-H'er on how making healthy food choices will help our body. I am going to wrap this up because I think one of my pieces of technology might be dying, and I want to make sure I capture it all. But this is a great introduction to the Food Nutrition Project. This doesn't necessarily require for you guys to come to me and I train everybody at once, here in our kitchen because it's not big enough. But it can happen in your own kitchen. I promise you're either creating foods for your family, you're eating foods, all the foods are in your kitchens. Utilize what you have to teach your child. Use the resources. I promise you I know a little bit about everything. I'm not an expert on anything as far as when it comes to food nutrition. I utilize these resources just as much as the next person. But this is a great way to teach your child. Get them involved in the kitchen. I have kids myself. I have a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 15-year-old, and they're constantly, someone's in the kitchen trying to help mom create dinner. Well, I could take a little bit of time and say, and kind of give them some, maybe nutrients. We're having spaghetti tonight. The tomatoes contain this, and this is how it helps our body. Or instead of using regular pasta, we're going to use whole wheat pasta tonight, or maybe we're going to use a spaghetti squash instead of pasta. Just kind of introducing those healthy substitutions, healthy ingredients that we can use to make our bodies more healthy. If you have any questions, you can email myself, you can email Tanya, reach out to us. We will definitely assist you, and we're very excited for kids to participate in our food show. Don't forget, Clover Kids are welcome to participate as well. Have a great day.